Do you think there should be a cap on international arrivals?
Well, as you quite rightly point out, the National Cabinet will make relevant decisions today. I mean, there have been some decisions in relation to this already. I mean, clearly there is a logistical challenge in terms of, in the context of quarantine requirements in hotels and the like. There's a logistical challenge in terms of the inflow of passengers coming in from overseas, and that does need to be sensibly managed. I mean, given that we need to continue to manage the risk of potentially infected passengers coming in from overseas.
I mean, it does make sense, though, doesn't it, that travellers now, they've had enough time to come home, that they should have to pay for their own quarantine in hotels?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, it's been some time now, and clearly, I mean, we've encouraged Australians to come back to Australia for some time. There was an extended period where the cost of coming back and undertaking the necessary quarantine in a hotel was covered by the taxpayer. But you're right. I mean, moving forward, I think that there is absolutely a strong argument that on an ongoing basis, as we need to continue to manage the risk of people bringing infections in from overseas, that is managed at people's own expense.
OK. Josh Frydenberg said this week that he is looking at bringing forward tax cuts. Is that going to happen?
Well, our instinct and our track record always is to look for opportunities to lower the tax burden on the economy in order to strengthen economic growth and employment growth moving forward. And, in the current context where we are looking for opportunities to maximise the strength of the economic recovery on the other side of this crisis, clearly we will be looking for opportunities to provide appropriate incentives through the tax system. What specific form that will take, that'll be a matter for the budget and indeed budget updates beyond that.
OK, so can you elaborate on that at all today? Is it just going to be one tranche, or is it going to be the whole lot brought forward?
Well, as I've just indicated to you, our instinct always is to keep taxes as low as possible. Any specific measures are going to be a matter for the budget on the 6th of October and indeed budget updates beyond that. OK,
well, the ACTU says today, a report in the paper says that it will oppose it because the revenue hit could hinder vulnerable people. Has she got any point, talking about Sally McManus here?
Well, no, she doesn't. I mean, we want to continue to provide strong support, through our welfare system and, to those Australians who need it. And in order to be able to continue to afford that on a sustainable basis, we need to ensure that we maximise the strength of our economic recovery, that we secure above-trend growth moving forward so that the revenue flows to government continue to increase, not on the back of higher taxes, but on the back of stronger economic growth, on the back of more successful, more profitable businesses paying more in taxes, more people being employed and in jobs pay more in taxes, which then helps to fund sustainably the levels of support that we should continue to provide to those Australians in need.
What the union is calling for, and there's a few others who are calling for this as well, is a 6-month extension to JobKeeper. Is that time frame possible?
Well, JobKeeper and the enhanced job seeker arrangements in their current form are coming to an end at the end of September. I mean, we are providing historically unprecedented crisis-level fiscal support into the economy, to business, to working families and indeed to those Australians who lost their job. But on the basis of assessed need, there will be continued support moving forward, but JobKeeper in its current form will come to an end at the end of September.
OK, so what does that mean? So no extension to JobKeeper, it'll be labelled something else?
Yeah. Well, JobKeeper in its current form is a 6-month program that was put in place, in the context of the coronavirus crisis hitting us very hard earlier this year. I mean, clearly the health context and the economic context, irrespective of what is happening in Victoria right now, is somewhat different now to what it was at the end of November. So the level of support moving forward will take into account the changed environment and the changed requirements. And whatever support is provided beyond the end of September is going to be based on assessed need from the end of September onwards.
And that will apply to the aviation sector, surely?
Well, again, I'm not here. It's less than 2 weeks until the economic statement will be released on the 23rd of July, and we'll be making relevant announcements in the context of that statement on the future arrangements for JobKeeper and the enhanced job seeker arrangements. That is something that we've previously made clear. So not much longer to go. But again, JobKeeper in its current form was always designed to be in place for a 6-month period. That comes to an end at the end of September. It is an unbelievably generous program. The need for further support moving forward, we're conscious of the fact that there is a need, but whatever support is provided beyond the end of September will be based on need and not just a replication of what was there before.
How much of that economic statement was ripped up this week?
Well, not sure what you're talking
about.
Well,
given what happened in Victoria, it must have changed your forecasts considerably. So, how much did you have to go back and go, well, that's not going to work. Clearly, we've got to spend more money here.
Well, it doesn't work that way. Clearly the crisis level fiscal supports that we've put in place are able to be calibrated. They're demand-driven programs, and they're able to be calibrated based on what is happening at any one point in time. We've always been conscious of the risk that there would be localized outbreaks, including larger localized outbreaks. We were always very conscious of the fact that we needed to give ourselves the capacity to respond swiftly and strongly and effectively to localized outbreaks. But this coronavirus, this COVID-19 pandemic and the virus will be with us for some time, and we're going to have to continue to find ways to manage things in the economy with the coronavirus being with us in a way that is as COVID safe as possible.
Just on to China and Hong Kong and the special visas, the safe haven visas that the Prime Minister referred to yesterday, Minister. China has since responded. It says it's a breach of international laws. No one should interfere with China's domestic affairs. There's something a bit ironic about that, but what's your reaction to those statements from China overnight?
Well, we're not interfering with anybody's domestic affairs. We're making judgments in the context of our own sovereign domestic arrangements. And, clearly we are concerned about what's been happening in Hong Kong. We're concerned about the implications of the national security laws for the democratic framework that has applied in Hong Kong for a long time. Under the one country, two systems arrangements, and we're making decisions in that context for what is appropriate in an Australian sovereign context, and we think that's entirely appropriate.
Are you expecting a trade backlash?
Look, we'll continue to make judgments based on what we believe is right. And we are not, clearly. What others want to decide is a matter for them. We can only control what we do, and we'll continue to do what we believe is the right thing to do in the circumstances.
Okay. Well, since you were last on here, Minister, you've since announced that you're going to be quitting politics at the end of the year. What are you going to do? I've got 6 more months of 100% commitment to this job, and at the appropriate time, I'll turn my mind to what's next. All right. Well, since they've left politics, Malcolm Turnbull, Christopher Pyne, they've both written books, and you've featured in both of those books. Would you write one with your own version of events?
I can give you an ironclad guarantee that I will never, ever write a political autobiography, ever.
Okay. Why not?
Well, because I just have got other things to do.
Right. Okay.